Yeah, prosecuting honor-based abuse is one of the challenges that we've had, and it's something that we're aware of and tackling because largely what you're having to deal with is usually giving evidence against close family members, often your mother or your father or your siblings, the extended family, and also community members. And victims don't want to do that. They are living in the family, and they know if they report a case and they start to give evidence, they're going to have to either move away and leave everything they know. So that's one of the challenges that we have, which is that kind of fear. But we can deal with those challenges. We've got ways in which we can support victims, help victims through the process, help victims if they do want to move away, help victims give their evidence. We often involve the third sector with the charity groups who are very experienced, and they help the victims and provide them with the support they need. So that's one of the challenges, which is really, because this is such um, a focus on the kind of family. The second one is victims not reporting these cases. And there is a lot of underreporting because there isn't the confidence to see the cases through, not just because the perpetrators are often family members, but because they don't know what it means. They don't understand the court process. And again, we've got things that we have in place to support victims. We have special measures in place to support victims giving their evidence in court so they don't have to see the perpetrator in court. We provide visits to the court. We'll provide support from the third sector, such as domestic abuse support from what's called IDVAs, Independent Domestic Violence Advisors. They can support them as well. So we do provide all of that support. And I suppose the third thing I would probably highlight, there's lots of reasons, but the third thing I would highlight is victims sometimes don't know that they're victims, so they don't come forward. And so it's recognizing what honour-based abuse is. And this is really important for me as the national lead for the Crown Prosecution Service to talk to EasternEye, talk to wider press, to have conferences so that these issues are at the forefront and people can then understand that indeed they are victims. Because if they don't know anything different, they've been living in these communities, they've been living in the household with the dynamics as they are, they may not think that anything's out of the norm. So it's important for us when we prosecute cases, we get convictions to highlight those cases. Well, there are many people who defend the practice of so-called honour because they hide it and say it's a cultural issue, or they hide it behind a religious facade. But it's not. The law is the law. If you assault somebody, if you abuse somebody, if you kill somebody in the name of honour, it's an offence in this country. It's as simple as that. There isn't any. You can't defend it. Honour-based abuse is abuse. And it can be anything from controlling coercive behaviour, false imprisonment, rape, sexual offences, as I said, coercive controlling behaviour financially as well. So I think there is very little ground upon which somebody can try and defend those perpetrators who are saying they're doing this in order to sometimes they say it's in order to protect their communities. It's a religious thing. It's because often girls, but we do have male victims, they're becoming too westernized, but it's controlling. So why are they hiding behind this guise, this cloak of tradition? And we need to challenge that because it's against the human rights of individuals if you're going to abuse them or you're going to restrict their freedoms. So I think I'd be quite happy to speak to those who try and defend it. And the CPS apply the law, and the law is very clear. And we flag these cases as honour-based abuse, and we'll prosecute them as that. And we will put all of the facts before the court, and these are aggravating features. And hopefully we expect the judges will look at all of the facts and increase the sentence on the basis of it being an aggravating feature of that case. Yeah, it's really bizarre when you think that the second and third generation are now continuing some of the practices, some of the behaviours of the kind of first generation. So there seemed to be a continuation. And for me, this is all about education and raising awareness about these issues. I think they're under the false misapprehension that they're doing something to support their family and doing the right thing. And it's not. It's absolutely not. It's a crime. There are other ways in which if you think there are behaviours which are unacceptable, you can deal with those in the normal family environment in which you can kind of speak about these issues. But often the generations think that it's a scourge on their family honour, and the reputation of the family is being affected, and so they've got to defend that. And they take this on, and it's often young males who take this on as a responsibility, as a role, as a duty to defend the honour of their family or their community. And we can tackle that by prosecuting these cases, by ensuring we have more victims come forward, by raising awareness about these cases, and making sure that we do highlight these offences and these cases when we take them to court. And also, it's really important that we, where we can, have victims come forward, survivors come forward to talk about their stories. And I know, following our conference that we had, which was a joint conference we had with the National Police Chiefs Council, with the Home Office and the Crown Prosecution Service, it was a first ever conference where we brought all the stakeholders together, as well as the third sector and charities. And we talked about these issues and talked about some of the rising trends and how we could address them. And having conferences like that means that we're still talking about the agenda. The government has a policy, a stated policy on violence against women and girls to ensure that they halve the offences within 10 years. And this is part of supporting the government strategy, because honour-based abuse is underreported. We don't get as many cases through, and it needs to be tackled. Yeah, I think it is important that we have a statutory definition. I know it's something that's being considered by the Home Office, and it's important because then everybody will have an understanding of what it actually means, because there are different definitions. Although the CPS definition is largely used and accepted, if you have a statutory definition, it means that we can collate the data consistently from across the stakeholders. We have a better understanding of the nature of offending, how much is happening, and also it will help when we're prosecuting the cases as well. So for data gathering and collection, for having a statutory definition, we have one for forced marriage, we have one for domestic abuse, and I think we need to catch up and have one for honour-based abuse. I think it will improve the number of prosecutions, improve the number of investigations as well, and help investigators, the police, help prosecutors, and also help the judiciary when we're dealing with these cases. I can't say an awful lot more because the Home Office is looking at this currently. I gave evidence at the Women and Equality Select Committee on behalf of the Crown Prosecution Service a couple of years ago when the last government was there. And I know, having Jess Phillips, the Safeguarding Minister and VAUG Minister, attend the conference, that she is committed to developing a statutory definition. So we've been part of the consultation process by the CPS. We've put forward our views, and we hope that the government will listen to those who are taking this forward. It's not just the Crown Prosecution Service. There are many in the third sector who are pushing this forward as well. So there is a lot happening, and I think it's now with the Home Office, and they will make their decision soon, I hope. My message is, do not step back from reporting these offences to the police. The police will assist, the Crown Prosecutions will assist and support you, and we are absolutely determined to take these cases to court and achieve justice for you as victims. There are many things and tools we have in place to support victims going through the court process. We are able to access other support for victims to help them, to support them, to get them to give their best evidence. And we know that sometimes victims do fear giving evidence in court, but we are able to support them and see them come through. There are lots of cases where we've had successful convictions. We had a victim survivor give her account of what happened, of a forced marriage, a terrible case where we got convictions against her aunt and uncle who tried to force her through a forced marriage. So we also have convictions for honour-based killings. We have convictions for many different types of offences which do fall under the definition of honour-based abuse. So I would say seek out the support. We are here to help you and support you. There's a lot of work that the CPS are doing with the police. We are working together to build the cases. We get these cases in very early and we're able to take the cases to court. There are cases where we're able to be successful, where victims don't go to court because we can build the cases. We can build the cases from other evidence, from other circumstantial evidence. So there may be friends and other family members who are able to support the case. There may be CCTV evidence. There may be neighbours who have heard what's happened. So we're able to build the cases. So we are successful as well in taking cases to court when the victim themselves don't want to. So look, victims will feel very pressurised not to report from their families or their communities. They're often sometimes threatened as well with abuse. And as I said, sometimes they don't realise what they're experiencing. And it's really important that we get the message across that these challenges, we can overcome these challenges. And we can also apply to the court for protective orders as well to help victims live free from their abusers. We can apply, as I said, for special measures so they don't have to face their abuser in court. And we can also apply for things like forced marriage protection orders as well. And these protective orders, they help victims feel safe. And we also prosecute for breaches of those protection orders. And I have to kind of say, there's not just female victims, we've also got male victims as well. And we have an increase in the number of male victims. And there are barriers for men to report their abuse as well, because of the concepts of masculinity and honour and shame. And that can prevent male victims from coming forward. And we've got examples where a man might be forced into a marriage with a woman if they're gay or bisexual, and the family want to retain that so-called honour by pretending that their child, their son, is not gay. And we've also got cases where you've got brothers or you've got other male victims who stand up for the abused victim, or they're in a relationship with someone who's a victim of honour-based abuse, and they themselves become victims because they become ostracised from the communities. So there are non-criminal routes as well with these orders and the civil orders and the protective orders, so we can have those which support the victims as well. So we do reach out into the communities with the work that we do. So we do a lot of work engaging with the communities. We'll have things such as scrutiny panels. We've got members of different communities who come and discuss the cases that we have. They're appointed by us. We also go and do talks into the communities. We go and speak at schools, at colleges, at universities. I myself have been into refuges for women. I've done many talks and attended many conferences to raise the subject matter and to keep it on the agenda. The other thing is how we work closely with victims and how we work very closely with other agencies to understand the experience of victims and to share their experiences. So survivors who are able to give their stories, look, a lot of the time we have anonymity for them, but they're able to give their stories, and that really hits home. It's much stronger than anything I can say or anything that the stakeholders can say. When we have survivors come forward and talk about what they experienced and how they got away from that abuse, either through a prosecution or through other ways. And I think that's really, really valuable. The other thing we do is we work very closely with all the police forces through the National Police Chief Council, and we're developing a protocol in relation to how we investigate these cases, build these cases, progress these cases, and prosecute these cases. And we also ensure that we get the investigators and prosecutors in early to talk about these cases, to build them. And I suppose the other thing I would say is actually making sure that we publicise our cases when we get prosecutions and talk about them, and ensure that we have publicity on those cases and keeping it on the agenda so people know it's still happening. There's a lot that is happening in criminal offences, and a lot that's happening in domestic abuse. We've got a domestic abuse joint justice plan nationally as well, which we're taking forward some of this work. So there's an awful lot of work. And in the CPS, we have a network of specialists across England and Wales who are the leads in every police force area, who are working closely on these cases, and then they speak to each other, get good practice. And if there's a case in Brighton or a case in Bradford or a case in Birmingham, they'll come together and talk about some of those challenges so we can ensure that we get justice for these victims. Look, I didn't know I was going to end up in law. I was wanting to be a police officer, but I ended up in law. You've got to follow your dreams. If I can make it, and I didn't come from a established background, I'm sure anybody can. Believe in yourself, make the contacts, get networks, be part of networks. They weren't there when I was there. Reach out for support, and you'll find there are lots and lots of women, men, people who are in positions who are ready to support you. And don't ever give up. This country provides lots of opportunities for women from a South Asian background, and I think take those opportunities. And anything I can do, I do. I make sure that I open the pipeline, I mentor people, I coach people, especially those from a South Asian background. I support them, I talent spot, and I hope other women in my position and positions of authority do the same, so that we have a pipeline of those who are coming up behind us. So I want to say, finally, please don't give up on your dreams. If you want to succeed and you want to be a lawyer, you can do it.